I got it.
You, Mr. Wiles?
I'm doing pretty good. How about you?
Okay, are we good? All right, sounds great. Thank you. So with that, now that we have our sound going, good afternoon, everyone. We're glad you're here. Thank you, directors, for spending some time with us this afternoon. And Alan, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Appreciate it. I was chuckling over here because I think Barbara forgot my glasses, so she made all my stuff in big bold print, so I don't even need them today. Thank you. But welcome, board members. Good to see everyone. Starting with the pre-agenda, our consent agenda on A is, we'll be talking about, the annexation workshop and minutes that we went over in March. B, regular meetings, or the meeting minutes. Our first one we'll talk about is C, Resolution 14-24, Significant Development Permit 2601 North Country Club Road, Lazy Boy.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the board. So this went to the Planning Commission yesterday, and it was recommended for approval. But what they're doing is just adding 135 new parking spaces at the Lazy Boy plant off of Country Club. That's adding 50,080 square feet. It's going to be on the north side of their facility. There is one staff condition just regarding utility easements and needed right-of-way that will need that will be directed by the city engineer. And with that, we're available for any questions. Thank you.
Any questions? Moving on to D, lease agreement, Boys and Girls Club, Western Benton County, $10. Hey, Travis, and after you're done with that, I want to talk about the signs on the fields, just to kind of explain what's going on out there. Okay.
Good afternoon, Board, Mayor, Travis Cheney, Parks and Rec Manager. What you have before you is what I'd call an administrative solution to a kind of wonky problem out at the ball fields, and I'll try not to get too far into it. But for many, many years, Siloam Springs Youth Baseball leased the ball fields. Under that agreement, they were permitted to have advertising banners on the fences out there, as you'd see at a lot of ball fields. They had an agreement with the sign company. They'd raise money. They took care of the fields. They took care of the concession stands. They used that money to basically maintain the facilities. We had the same agreement with them that we had with, say, the golf course, where the city really wasn't involved at all. After Boys and Girls Club took over last year, they were approached by that same sign company that had the agreement with Siloam Springs Youth Baseball, said, hey, would you like to continue what we've been doing the past 20 years? They said, in their minds, great, it's been going on for a long time, let's keep doing it. Staff found out after the fact that this was going on, and we do have an item in our city code that prohibits the posting of signs on city property by non-governmental entities. SSYB was able to do it because they had a lease agreement. We did not currently have a lease agreement with the Boys and Girls Club. We had a service contract. Staff felt that it would be important because of this misunderstanding that was made in good faith. Money had already changed hands previous to us learning about it. There were some companies that had already had 3-year agreements with Siloam Springs Youth Baseball that they'd paid 2 years ago, and still would like to see their final year, that they've already paid for 3 years ago, have their banner up there. Staff reached out to city attorney saying, is there a way we can remedy this? City attorney's opinion was that the cleanest way to do it was a brief lease agreement with Boys and Girls Club for just the next 2 months to allow them to post the banners that have already been paid for. That would give us a year to look at city code, work out whether it makes sense to bring some sort of amendment, make some sort of exception for advertising at ball fields. But there are, as the city attorney will be able to tell you, a lot of complications with advertising on city property. And that's why this would just be a very short lease agreement to kind of make this right, honor previous agreements that were made in misunderstanding, and move forward with a potential better long-term solution that answers some outstanding questions.
Thank you, Travis. And Board, I just wanted you to know that because I've gotten some emails and different calls on that. It's just something we can't do on city property. So we came up a way and we'll get through this year, and I may have to bring something back to you later as an ordinance if we are renting it out, that they have that space. And we may do that for $1 or something, but as we go and I figure it out, I'll keep you updated.
And staff's available for any questions.
Madam Mayor.
Yes, David?
Travis, in your memo, you say to also honor any one-year agreement made by the Boys and Girls Club for this season. What,
So there's sort of two things going on. One, there are a handful of companies that made agreements 3 years ago, and this would be the final year of that agreement. Boys and Girls Club also, again, totally innocent mistake, just assumed, oh, this has been done, we'll keep doing it. They started selling advertisements, printing banners prior to the city's knowledge of it. And so this agreement would just recognize those ones that have already been sold, where money's already changed hands, banners have already been printed, and just allow those. And then we would, going forward, try to see if there's a better long-term solution.
We're hoping, Director, that we'll have a clean slate as soon as we get through this ball field. We'll be done with that 3-year agreement, and also going into next year, we will know this up front with Boys and Girls Club. Because again, this is something I didn't realize until.
it makes sense, but any organization that contracts with the city, whether it's a museum, Main Street, anybody, should be asking questions before they go make agreements. Like, I mean, I totally get the other thing of picking up the last piece of what youth baseball did, but before they went into the one-year agreement on this season, they should have asked you, Travis. Yeah. And it's live and learn. Everything's live and learn. So I'm just saying it shouldn't just be Boys and Girls Club. It should be anybody that we're contracting with on anything.
That's what we would hope to straighten out in any further, ordinance change or policy, because, we have a similar agreement, say, with Silent Springs Football Club. They're currently not permitted to post any banners. Same with the Silent Springs Flyers at our pool. We want to be able to treat everybody the same and have a policy that captures that.
But unless you ask, I mean, a lot of people just don't even think that it's just like, okay, you leased it to us, so it's up to us now. So it's understandable, totally understandable.
Any other questions? Okay.
Thank you, Travis.
Sounds good, Travis.
I appreciate staff coming up with a quick fix that will tie this up for this year and give us some breathing room.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Going to contracts. Is there any other questions on consent agenda? Moving on to contracts and approval. Mutual settlement agreement, Ozark Electric Cooperative.
We hired a lawyer, Jason Carter, to work on this, and he come up with this agreement, working with Carroll Electric. The items listed on the back side is the ones that they've agreed to let us to continue to serve. The Corporation Commission gave them the right to this area that they're serving now in Oklahoma, and we actually had customers, we've been serving power down on the Illinois River for our pumps before they was actually formed, I think. And so, anyway, it's just kind of a way to clean things up, and this agreement just gives us the right to continue serving these customers that we are serving now. And if any future customers come up that they can't serve, then we can get with them and have a mutual agreement that where they maybe don't in that area and it's better for us to serve them, that we can work out something with them. So, any questions?
Any questions, directors?
Bill, is this the same Ozark Electric that is in Fayetteville? Or is that a different Ozark?
They serve Oklahoma and Arkansas.
The same ones that's doing the Brightspeed or Ozarks Go, or is that something else? Ozarks Go, yeah, okay.
Anyone else? Thank you, Phil.
Thank you, Phil. And moving on to ordinances, the first one is ordinance 24-3, third reading, vacation of alleyway, 809 University Street.
Kevin Moore, City Engineer. This is the third and final reading of the request to vacate a portion of alleyway at 809 East University, and staff is recommending this to the board for the board's consideration. We stand available for any questions.
Thank you, Kevin. G, ordinance 24-04, second reading, amending section 102-21 of the City Municipal Code, rezoning from I-1 to R3, 809 University Street.
Kevin Moore, City Engineer. This is the second reading of the rezone at the same property from industrial to residential at the request of the applicant. And staff is recommending approval with no conditions, and we're available for any questions.
Madam Mayor?
Yes.
Kevin, why is this the second reading, but the vacation is the third reading? Were they not put on the same at the beginning for both?
Correct. They weren't.
They were not, okay.
Any other questions? Ordinance H, ordinance 24-05, second reading, Master Street Plan Amendment, right-of-way determination.
This is for a procedural change to the master street plan, allowing the city engineer to be the one to make the determination or to evaluate and approve, if necessary, a developer's request for lesser right-of-way standards to be dedicated to the city. Currently, as it's written today, if the engineer agrees with their request, then it comes before this board for approval. And so in an attempt to shorten that process, we're proposing this change to let that rest with the city engineer. And then if there's a disagreement, it would come before this board. But if not, then the city engineer would approve that within one street classification size. And if there's additional requests beyond, say, from arterial all the way down to major local, then that would still have to come before the board. Staff's recommending approval, and we're available for any questions.
Questions, board? All right, moving on to I, ordinance 24-07, first reading, vacation of utility easement, 21,000 block of Davidson Road.
This is for the vacation of a utility easement in conjunction with a lot consolidation being reviewed by staff. And they're asking to vacate what we believe is an unused easement on the inside of the plat that they're proposing. So the lot line that they're shifting, that easement would be vacated. That was originally dedicated several years ago and is not needed. Staff is recommending approval, and we're available for any questions.
Any questions? You guys are making it too easy on us today. Thank you, Kevin. Just a few things to report. Is there any other questions or concerns about the agenda? And feel free, if something comes up as you read through and you have something, please feel free to reach out to me or staff with any questions leading up to the board meeting. We'll be happy to answer them before the meeting if needed. Just a few things today. I got a lot of emails today, or not me so much, but more social media. We had an inspection of our parks. We have inspections yearly, and when the inspectors came up to Bob Henry, they noticed one of the swings was a hazard and was dangerous, so their recommendation was to remove immediately. So that's what we did. And I think a lot of people, I'm surprised how many really noticed, so we've been getting, social media today been kind of saying things, but Megan did a really good job. We got that out, working with parks to let them know that we are looking to replace it. It's just going to take some time to see exactly what we can put there, and you still got to order something and put it out there. So it's just going to be a little time, just to kind of give you an update on that. Also to give the board an update, is there any questions about that?
I was just going to say, speaking of Bob Henry, since you're on the subject of Bob Henry, when you come down Benton, there's that building right near the playground area. People still try to park in front of that, and when they do, their vehicle is halfway out in the street. And there's more than enough parking places there to not park in front of that building, but people still do. So I'm appreciative we have the playground. I'm appreciative we have the park right there, but sometimes people just don't get it on that they're hanging out. So.
Chief Miller, we're not at each other. If you just have your folks keep an eye on it, see if we have any problems there, I appreciate it. Thank you, Director. I just want to give you a quick update. Sager Creek Cabin, we've been looking at that, trying to figure out how to move it. It's still, I'm going through the process with JBU. We found a couple locations that we like. We just got to see if that can happen. The big problem is getting the cabin moved. The cabin is a lot worse shape than we thought. There's actually seconds that Travis and Jason told me you can actually stick your arm through. One of the things about the cabin, it would have to completely be tore down and rebuilt. Stone fireplace, everything stone, would have to do that and move to the new location. It's something that I realize it's 200 years old. It's a part of our history, but the price tag could get pretty expensive. We are looking at historical grants. I have Hallie looking into that to see what we can do. We're looking into companies, but we are getting, I don't want to get sticker shock, but these prices could range to $500,000 to do this. So I will bring, as soon as we get this, I will bring it to the board to let you know if there's any grants, if we can do this, if it's going to be this expensive. What I found out before, when it was moved, a lot of that was done, I'm being told, through grants. So again, and I think the last person that moved that cabin is no longer with us. So again, we're reaching out, talking to people, and seeing what we can do. I don't think it's just an easy lift and set. I think it would fall apart just from what we're seeing. But we want people that do it for a living to come and tell us instead of me just guessing. But right now, we're still trying to get cost estimates to bring something to the board.
We'd have a board work day, go up there, all right.
Everybody bring a hammer, some nails.
Have we committed to buying or to taking that? I know we're not, and if not, what's JBU's plan for it if?
They have a
JBU
second.
wants us to take it, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I actually, going back and forth email, and in the last few days, I've had some folks reach out to JBU, that they sent them to us, and I've turned them over to Jason and Travis that want to help us with the expense, want to help us with the move. So again, I don't know if either of you have had a chance to reach out. Travis, if you have, if you want to. Perfect. So we will continue to reach out to these folks to see what they can do. JBU did tell me there was someone else that was interested in the cabin, but I don't know if it would go outside the city if we did that. I told them we were interested, the board was interested. Again, I have them looking into, is there,
Use getting rid of it, whether it goes somewhere else or,
that's my
because even
understanding.
though it's been on JBU's property, I thought the city still owned it. Because I remember when it was moved up there. But,
That would be some-
but as you said, where's the ownership papers?
Yeah, I don't know where the deed is. I don't know, Renee, if you remember
Probably
anything
with
from
the
that.
Sager family.
I don't. That's something we'll have to research, but my understanding it was donated to JBU. So again, they're gonna see if there's a deed to transfer for ownership. I would love to move it over. There's a corner across the museum that I would like to look at moving it to. We still have the Sager Creek furniture that's in the museum. It would be really great to have, restore that and put that furniture in there. It's something I think would be really neat because it's part of the history of our city. So we're looking at a lot of different options. So I will get you hard numbers instead of me guesstimating, but it could get expensive.
With the amount of money at the state level, with Department of Arkansas Heritage, et cetera, you'd think they would be looking for things like this to help out.
Yes, sir. So we're going to look, we started this week trying to look into that, and we're trying to do it rapidly because I know they're ready to move on. They have some plans, but it could take us a little time. It's, again, when you start taking that stone fireplace, and I think there's a walkway and some other things in there that's all stone. And I think that's what Travis and Jason told me. We actually broke it down to move it there and rebuilt it. But I think with some of the structure is dilapidating. It's in bad shape. I think we would have to reach out and have some things remilled and hard to match. It could be quite a process. So, any other questions about that?
I definitely think the city, that it should stay in the city. I'd hate for it to go elsewhere. I think at the time it got moved, it was a matter of nobody knew where to move it. And JBU, I think John Brown himself offered to, because they had a lot of green space. With the amount of growth that they've done, I don't blame them for saying, we don't have, it's kind of wasted space there when they're trying to keep building. And so I just hope we can find a location and find some grant or some volunteers that know how to do it. And, because it really ought to stay in the city somehow.
And there's a lot of history with the board, and if you guys think of a location, let me know. We'll check every box, and we'll try to find the best location for that cabin. Again, I'm saying it's our history, over 200 years old. I'd love to save it if we can. Okay, excellent. Just to give you a quick update, this stub at Sager Creek is moving along. Hopefully, we're going to be finishing that project in the next few weeks. Excited about that. We've had some positive meetings. Hopefully, I can share with you soon of the developments that we have coming in. Again, I don't think we're quite there yet, but we are having some very positive meetings. I had one today, so I'm excited. But if you see all that construction going on out there, that's what it is. It's Sager Creek. And I know it's frustrating. You're getting a lot of calls, and I was talking to one director yesterday, and I was riding around different locations in Lake Francis and different places like that. We're trying to get this done. I know it just seems like it takes, things can't get done in a month or 2 months. It takes time, but I ride Lake Francis about every day just checking for potholes and gravel and different locations, but things are starting to wind down. I mean, they're getting close to finish, hopefully over the next couple of months. I think, Kevin, if I'm right, the deadline for Lake Francis is June?
Yes, it's the very end of June or beginning of July, I believe, right now for the contract. So they would be done before then.
And if you have questions on other projects, staff would be happy to answer them. If you have questions where we're at with those projects, we'll be happy to answer them if you have any. Not, we're going to move on to the last one. I've been having some meetings with directors today, just trying to, talking about annexation, just where I think we gave you several different concepts. We gave you concept A, B, and C. I think C was causing some confusion, so I've removed C. The reason I wanted to show C is to show where we were at. I think at that time, with that annexation, we were looking at 377 different residents. With option B is the one that I like. It cuts us down to 144. We also have an option A. If you look at option A with your handout, and feel free, Chris and Kevin and Ben, to jump in. We're trying to plan, the big thing for me, we haven't done an annexation that I can find since the 1970s. I'm not 100% sure, but I'm pretty positive. We have done small annexations with subdivisions coming in and petitioning to come in. We've had things like City Park, Kayak Park, but the actual annexation, we haven't had one since the 70s. I told you last meeting, one of the problems that we're having is growth. There's only so much, we have a bucket, and there's only so much we can bucket, and it's starting to spill over. One of the things that I also agreement. So I gave you a list of people that have signed that agreement. We require people to do that when they're getting city utilities. So again, I gave that to you and we can compare it to the part of the annexation. If you're looking at A, one of the things about A, if you go down to Kenwood on your right-hand corner of your page, on the bottom where it's Keck Road, I had a meeting with the school system yesterday. That is where they're planning to put an elementary school in the next 4 to 6 years. One of the part, if you noticed, and they want to annex. They told me we're going to annex, and I think they would be okay to annex because their corner of their property touches city limits, so they would be able to annex in. We think it's, for planning purpose, it's good to go ahead and annex that area. But on A, to the left of that, we're not taking in some of that property, which makes it really hard because we can't control or maintain or work on Kenwood Street. I think from planning purposes, that's why if you switch to B, you can see that even though we wouldn't have the short section between, I think planning told me it'd be easier to control the road. Chris, can you explain that, how we could do that? Between where the elementary school could go in and the annexation. Did I give you a copy? I apologize.
Pardon me, over here. I just got a message from somebody who was watching, and they said the live feed was cut.
Thank you.
Did you want to wait until?
Go ahead, Chris.
So there's a possibility whenever you look at option and B, you see the two disconnected portions of the annex, and then you look at that street that would make that connection. There is a possibility of just completing the annexation of the right-of-way that would be to the south side of that road to make sure that connection and give us full control of that street between those two annexation points. And it could be justifiable because ensuring that could be justifiable because ensuring that we have the continuity of that public right-of-way between those two annexed portions of the city. And I believe that's what you were referring to.
Yes.
So essentially what you would see is just a small portion of the annexation area grow that would just be to the north of the residence, but it would just encompass the existing right-of-way and bring that right-of-way to the city based off of our master street plan width.
Chris, I'm completely lost. What street you're talking about? You're not talking about a street, so I'm lost as to where.
Sure.
Last I heard was Keck Road, but
Yes.
are you talking about some other place now?
This would be Kenwood. That would be between, if you look at the southeast corner of the annexation concept option B, you'll see the two areas that are somewhat disconnected.
Oh, okay.
And then you'll see Kenwood that on the south side of Kenwood would remain in the county, and on the north side is currently already in the city.
It's between Scatelyn and Bruce Rutherford. Caitlin, I'm sorry. Right now, just where that's anywhere from where it, Kenwood, where you see where is city limits starts, we can't maintain that road. Even though we have the city limits on one side, we don't maintain that road pretty much on Kenwood all the way to Bruce Rutherford. With annexation, that would help us, help that road and help for the future growth of the elementary school. So,
Why would you not go ahead and put all of that, the part that's on the south side of, across from South Parrot Lane, that little rectangle?
I agree with you, Director, and that's some of the locations. That's why I want to have this discussion, is because planning-wise, I think there's a family there that's just against annexation, as a lot of people are. We make that no secret. But again, in planning, if we take the elementary school and then we take in the other part on Caitlin Drive, if they ever develop that, they would automatically, they could petition to come into the, and they, even if we took that into annexation, they could petition at any time to come into the city.
Do the homeowners in these two sections wish to be brought in?
Some do, some don't. The problem we'll run into, Director, and we'll talk a lot about this as we go forward, and just for you know, I have an annexation timeline that we've worked on. It's just not 100% complete yet. I will get that to you hopefully very soon. Just getting meetings anywhere from town hall meetings to panel discussions to the deadlines. we have to get this on ballot, and tell me if I'm wrong, Ben, by August 27th. And so we have a timeline as we go down.
Just to be clear, that's when the ordinance is already adopted and published for 30 days. So it would have to be approved by the board in June to make the August 27th board line.
Gotcha, thank you, Ben. And what we would plan, and once I get you this timeline, our goal is to have the second reading, the first meeting in July, and the third and final reading, the second board member of July. And then hopefully get everything done everything completed by August 27th. But I'll get you that timeline as soon as I can.
Alan, I do have a question about that. So Kenwood is a road that obviously there's been a lot of development on that road. And as the developments have been brought to the board for approval, especially earlier on, there was a lot of concern from residents that lived out there about the condition of that road. So I guess my question is, if we're saying we want to annex in partly for the purpose of having more control of being able to work on that road, are we going to work on that road? I think we will get a lot more pressure to do so. Right now, I know it's county controlled and we haven't got much control over that, but it's going to be an expensive project. And it's something we've been talking about for a while. And it seems that there's a perception out there among people that have been annexed in that there were promises made that weren't kept in terms of just fixing roads, whatever. And so that's a big one. Kenwood is one that's been brought up for a lot of concerns.
Right, and that's a great question and observation. If you're looking at Caitlin Drive, and the road control is only one part of that. If you look at the annexation, it's kind of in a U shape. The issue on the U shape, that's city property right below it and right below it. We have to go through county property to get to city property, which has caused us issues, especially at the kayak park, the city park. We have too many areas in the city right now that we have to go through the county to get to city. This is a clean planning way to clean a lot of that up. Does that help answer a little bit?
What is on there? You said it's city property. What's on there?
There's really, I think it's just open lots. Ben, do you know? Right below it?
That's a future development.
So it's city property?
It's not owned by the city, it's owned by a developer.
Am I looking at it wrong, Ben? I'm sorry. It looks like it's in the light.
It's in city limits.
And city limits.
City limits is what I'm saying. I'm sorry, I said, that's my fault. I meant to say city limits, but I said city property probably.
And to speak to Kenwood specifically a little bit, so we are currently under contract with Garver for designs to rebuild and widen Kenwood Street.
Okay.
So that's underway currently, and there's a grant for the design of that project as well.
Okay.
And that goes to Bruce Rutherford Road.
Okay.
And again, once that gets developed, if they don't petition to get in and we don't have it, now we're going through city to get to our property again, or not our property, but our city limits, get into our subdivisions. That means our garbage trucks and everything else will have to go through the county to get to the city, where the subdivision would be. Any other questions there?
Just more of a comment, which I appreciate hearing about Kenwood, because like Mindy had said, there's some question over citizens, will this stuff be taken care of? And that's one of the things I've heard this week is people are frustrated because they feel like things aren't taken care of right now, and then we want to enlarge the city and take in more. Are we going to be able to handle it, to fix the streets, to get things done?
And we have master street plans and master sewer, and we've made great strides there. One of our focus will continue to try to put taxpayer money on our streets and roads. I think we're going to see a huge change once Lake Francis is done and a lot of other roads are done, and we can continue to focus on the upkeep of roads as we grow. Because as we grow, we'll probably have to add staff. And if it's things where Steve has to bid this out to bring in other contracts, like, to be honest, one of my main focus next year, and I really can't talk about it a lot yet, why I want it, but we all know Airport Road is an issue. That's one of my big focuses, and Judge Mooring we've had several conversations that the county wants to partner with us to get that road fixed. So that's something I will probably be bringing the board for next budget year. And so we just got to keep tackling those big projects and keep moving forward. And again, with annexation, you have a lot of people, and I understand their frustration. And I'm you know me well enough, I'm trying to be really honest with you. We have people that get fire protection, they get ambulance service, they get city water, they get city electric. The only thing they're not is getting police service. But they're like, what are you giving me? Well, the city taxpayers have paid and flipped the bill to get that property there, or to get that, to make sure you have utilities. They're paying those taxes where you're getting these amenities and you're not paying the taxes to do it, if that makes sense. So again, I'm not saying everyone we're annexing gets that, but a lot of them do. Am I correct, Kevin, Ben? I mean, again, they're getting all the amenities, but they live outside the city, but they get all city amenities. And, you know, I get things a lot of times, the fire department does a great job. I don't think I've ever gotten a complaint where an ambulance doesn't get anywhere, but one day I can have an ambulance down, and I could have one in Oklahoma, and I could have one somewhere else. Where's our priority? You know, and again, we want to save all lives. We don't say, hey, are you asylum citizens? You know, you're a citizen, we can come there. You know, we provide a service, and they do a very good job of doing that very well. So again, but the more farther we have to go out, the more pressure it puts on them. That's why we have to continue to grow, not just as a city, but as a staff, as departments, and to keep providing the services that we do. So I want to move up. If you're looking, and I'm going to flip back to A and B, I just kind of tore mine apart. One of the issues, if you go up to about the middle of the page, under annexation, you can see Heiko Street. On Plan B, I have Heiko Street in. One of the issues is Davidson Road. I'm constantly getting phone calls, you know, Davidson Road's too dusty, it's needs water, it's not the city limits, and there's not a lot I can do. But again, we have subdivisions going in there that will probably be within the city. If we do not annex Davidson Road and say we cut it off at Songbird Lane or the next street over, we have to, where do we stop snow plows? Where do we start garbage runs? We're going into the county again before we get to Heiko and take the left. And from Bashir's Road to Davidson Road, I think there's only 4 residents in there right now, 4 homes, and one of them's for sale. To me, it's the smart play to annex that in, to keep that clean. Dave, I thought it was very important for Country Club Road and Davidson Road to control that 4-way stop. She kind of gives me that look, but we have lots of accidents where Siloam Police Department had to wait, you know, for we've called ambulance service. There's several times I've had wrecks out by my house where people run into trees and their cars have started on fire, and the fire service has to come out. But again, I think it's very important that we control that 4-way stop. Now, as a board, if we don't want to continue going towards 59 and we want to stop at Country Club, but again, for planning purposes, I think it's really smart that we take in all Davidson Road to 59, because I think I'm right, because Gentry was actually running water lines down 59. Steve, you might be able to help me on that, about a year or so ago, and we ended up running water lines all the way down. How far did we go down 59, Steve?
We went to Cozy Corner.
Sorry, I put you on the spot.
Here, how's that? We went down to Cozy Corner Road. So Right across the road is Gentry's water line.
So we've got water running out there a long way for future development because, again, I try to be the kind of leader that I don't plan for tomorrow or next year. I am trying to plan 15 to 20 years ahead where we don't have to keep bringing annexation up. Are we taking as big a swing as we did with C? No. Was C a terrible idea? In my opinion, no. But again, if we have to get smaller, and I'm getting looks for that. I mean, we were taking in a lot, but let's go out and look at Lawless Road, where I have several pre-annexation agreements. But out in Lawless Road, if you notice the darker gray, we have to go into the county to get to the subdivisions. We're not gonna try to tackle that. We got a lot of kickback. In C, that was in, but we took it out. And again, that's on the board. Again, maybe through development, that will gradually come in. But again, you're going through the county to get to city property. If you're following where I'm at, just right above Lawless Road, off the left of Don Hill Road. But again, we left that out. We did pick up the two pieces on Villa View, or trying to, an annexation.
Can I ask about that?
Yes, sir.
Did the two pieces there request coming in?
Ben?
I think one of them might be okay with it. I haven't contacted everyone on Villa View. It was just at the request of the board originally, I think a year ago, they take both sides of Villa View, so we didn't have some that was in and some that was out.
The question I've got is Sycamore Heights has been a development long before even Villa View Addition was. And Villa View Addition was the last big one on the west side that was taken in by Mr. Patterson. And my question is, why in the world have we not taken in Sycamore Heights? Is City Electric already covering Sycamore Heights? Does anybody know? I'm not sure. I'll check on that. It's just to the north of Villa View. We don't do that one. That housing addition, I know people have said, I don't want to be anywhere but in the county. But that housing addition has been so close to city limits for decades, much longer than anything else out in this area. And so it's kind of floored me why we've ignored it. And it's really surprising that Lawless Road has not just been taken in. We are on all three sides of the majority of it. And it just doesn't make a lot of sense to be looking at forcing places that have not even been close to the city limits. And yet these places here have been very close for decades, and we're not even considering it.
Right, and again, these options are open to the board. We can add, we can
Well,
subtract.
we've talked about squaring off. That's a huge, massive jiggity-jaggedy all over on the northwest side, and it doesn't make a whole lot of sense why Sycamore or Lawless has not been taken in a long, long time ago.
Yes, sir, because if you look at directors, you will see to the right of your paper, starting at Airport Road, on B, that's what I've tried to do, starting down from Keck, is keeping the straight lines and making sure everything is in between. But it is, and when you get out to the left to Lawless Road and Don Hill, we still have city property divided, and we just have to decide, do we want to put them in, or I left them out because it was very controversial, because they were a part of C. But again, that's something that is open to discussion. I think if we clean that up, we would be a lot cleaner, because if you look at Oak Crest, where you have the way we're planning this, and Ben, you know, you guys jump in if I speak incorrectly, but above Oak Crest, we have, we've got city limits right there. So anything around it that develops, us touching would help us take that in as an annexation for the future.
I would add that one of the factors of looking at annexation was the utility buyouts. I think I said 155%. It's actually 355% of the annual electric bill plus the equipment. So when you look at big developed subdivisions that are on Carroll Electric, it's very costly to take that in. I think it took over 7 years to take in the Villaview neighborhood alone, and that was just a,
But
couple
I think we misspoke last time. We did say 155, and I think it's actually 355.
355%, yeah.
I have you mentioned this Country Club Davidson intersection, wanting control of that on option B. But we're also talking about squaring off, and that's definitely not squaring off there. That's an odd little segment north of Davidson. But if that's an intersection, you still don't have control of all four corners, right?
You would have the three, but we would actually have full control of Davidson Road, and then we would have control of till the end of the property.
Could
And he's
you
got,
not?
and he's got a good point. You're talking about that little jag that goes, why would you make a little notch?
Again, that can be taken out. Again, that is four corners where,
But my question is, why was it thought of in the first place? Is there a planned development there?
no, again, there's just a lot of different, we have a lot of issues right in that area. I also think there's future growth that people want to come in, and that would give them an opportunity to come in.
Or in that upper area onto
I
the
think there's
lake.
going to be future growth all along the north side of Davidson Road, from one end to the other.
Possibly, yes. And one of the things about that planning, Director, is if you're down at 59 in Davidson or even Cozy Corner, that gives the people across from the proposed annexation, if they ever wanted to come in, they would be touching, and that would give them an opportunity to come in if they wanted future development.
So you're saying the annexation would take in both sides of the street?
That is my understanding,
It would
yes.
not be halfway through the street like
No,
used
sir, I
to
don't
be
want to
done
get into a
many-
situation where
No,
we
it was
did
done that way
Airport
long
Road.
ago where so I get what you're saying.
Sorry to interrupt. If I could add to that, on that east side of the northeast corner of that intersection, that would allow anyone that's adjacent to the city property to have that option to bring themselves into the city. As being adjacent to the city, they could petition for annexation. On the north side of Davidson, if from the areas of the annexation, that would allow us for any new developments that touch the city boundaries. That would allow the annexation associated with any development of a preliminary plat.
But Chris, you're saying it would give them the option. Well, we already know they don't want to come in the city. All these people have already said no. They showed up at our board meeting. So I'm saying you've made a notch here going north of Davidson. So what makes them special that you would say, well, we're going to take them in with concept B, but on the east and west side, well, if they develop, they'll have the option to.
It'll give us more road control on North Country Club.
I can't hear you, Lisa.
It'll give us more road control on North Country Club.
Yes, that bump out at the top is one parcel along Country Club. And so we would take in the whole right-of-way with that one parcel. And when we talk about clean lines as well, we're not as concerned with the portions that stick out from kind of a squared, clean edge. It's going to become rough and jagged again. So when we're talking about clean lines, we're taking in the full right-of-way of any streets that we don't have issues like what we're facing today with Airport and Kenwood, where we have to coordinate with the county every time we need to improve a street.
Where that bump out is at, I would, through C, we actually, everything that's in gray was a part of C. I would love to do that, but we got a lot of negative on that. And again, I agree with you, Director Allen, is again, guys, this is going to be negative. Our job, my job is to present it to you, and we get it prepared, we get it on the ballot. And then it's up to the voters. We're just trying to get this on the ballot for the voters. We are not deciding this is going to be annexed or not annexed. The voters will decide that. But no, great questions.
I have a question. Going back to Carroll Electric, I assume it's still up in the air whether we'll have to buy them out.
Bill, can you give a quick update on that?
I've been talking with our lawyer, Jason Carter, on that, and he said the annexation would not affect our buyout with Carroll Electric in the discussions. And so it's still going forward with Carroll Electric. It's a slow process, but we're working with them. But I asked him, I said I was concerned about the annexation and the buyout with Carroll, but if we can get something worked out with them, that would be awesome.
So we may still have to buy out the customers even that are in our planning zone? Or is it all still up in the air, what actually is going to happen?
There.
Yeah, okay.
I have a question. Have we coordinated have we even had discussions with the county? Because I know.
Sorry, Ms. Lisa, I'm sorry.
Have we had discussions with the county? Because I know one of the problems that somebody brought forth here, and then when John was running, a lot of county people asked him to come out and look at their property. And the county, based off of us even having conversations of annexation, stopped all projects out in the areas we're wanting to annex. How do we prevent? Because there's some people we're not even planning on trying to annex, that their streets are in ill repair, and they never got repaired because the county thought the city was going to try to annex them in. Is there any coordination to prevent stuff like that happening?
Good question. Kevin, has anyone reached out to you or staff?
No, not yet. Once we have a proposal selected, then we would reach out and coordinate with the county. Because essentially at this point, if we presented them with 3 solutions, one of the options does have that specific subdivision within it. And so I think to present all 3 at this point would be prohibitive. And so once the board has kind of decided A, B, or C, then we would approach the county with that.
That C's off the table.
And just to be clear, when last year with option C, we did have a meeting with the county judge and all the officials once we knew what that area was.
Okay. I just hate to see people penalized because we're proposing something. Do you see what I'm saying? Because now, where are they going to fall back on the list? Way down the list? I mean,
And
it's
once we
frustrating.
lock into an area, you're asking a good question. Once it's really hard, like right now I took C off, so we're not even having to worry about that proposal. But to go to the judge, because even though they're not greatly different, they are different. And once we lock into what we want to do, because as a board, we can't vote here, but if the board would give me direction here to say, hey, several, at least 4 of you are interested in taking in Lawless Road. If you're not, we'll leave it as it is, but if that's something you want us to look at, I'll be happy to do it. So once we get that game plan, we've got panel discussions, because I have a panel, and our panel is going to be made up, because I've had several of you ask me, would we have citizens, or not citizens, but people that live in the county that are going to be annexed, would they be a part of this part of this panel? My answer is yes. I want several. And what we'll do is they will come in, it will be made up of county citizens, elected representatives, planning commission, chamber of commerce, utility commission. Different folks will be involved in this panel along with staff. And we will have hopefully a couple, 2-3 meetings, get questions answered. Megan, it might be a good time. Are you ready to kind of do an update? What we did after our last meeting is we have a website, and that's where I've been sending everything. We've gotten some really good questions. I've gotten a lot of good feedback there and support from citizens. I've had some county folks that asked me some really good questions, and I need to find them answers. We're not going to hide from it. We're going to try to find them answers.
Before Megan starts, Mindy made a really good point, is we made promises, and sometimes people feel like their promises aren't fulfilled. I would like to know if we decide on a plan, option A, option B, whatever they are. I would kind of like to know streets is a big thing. And I've drove on Davison, we all probably drove on Davison Road and some of these other roads that are being proposed, especially down here at East Kenwood. Her point is, we're going to say that we're going to take care of these roads. Can you tell us, if you're thinking about annexing and you're wanting to take control of the road, kind of where you're going to put that in the master plan? I mean, is it going to be 10 years or is it going to be 5 years? Is it going to be 3 years?
Right. Great question. What I'm hoping, Miss Lisa, this year, where Steve brought you a master street plan, a master sidewalk plan, we did that several months ago. So at the end of the year, I'm going to bring that plan and we're going to start checking things off. And we're going to start making, say we have a top 10, top 20 list. We got to make sure 20 is now not number 3. And we're going to have to prioritize where we put our focus. So we have focused on, from a lot of your input, on several streets, sidewalks, and that's what our focus is. So come January 1, well, around budget time, we're going to be coming back to you and we're going to be talking about, all right, where are our priorities? What street issues are you seeing in your wards or throughout the city, and what do we need to prioritize? Once this annexation process is done, and if it's voted for, let's just say it's voted for, we're going to have to add these streets into our master street plan and prioritize them. And we might annex something that jumps several of our street projects here, because they are a part of our city now and we have to take care of them.
Well, I know we can't give a definite, this is where they're going to be, but kind of, just kind of giving us a ballpark of what the expectation is, because that's one of the things the voters are bringing to us, the citizens are bringing to us. And I appreciate everything. I have been getting lots of compliments about a lot of things in the city, about they're seeing things getting done, and I appreciate that. There is a fear factor that our needs will not be fulfilled, and I want to make sure, if I'm telling a citizen, I want to make sure needs remain a focus, and how we.
I hope this doesn't sound bad the way I'm about to say, because I don't mean it that way. The staff and I were talking about the other day that we have to go and we have to look at these streets, we have to prioritize and know what we're getting into when we annex it. But if these problems haven't been fixed already, they've been waiting for a while anyway, so we're going to come in and try to fix them, but it might take us a while. I don't know if it'll take a month, 6 months, a year, 3 years, but they haven't been fixed since they're out there already. Is that fair to say?
That's correct. There will be a likelihood of complete rebuilds in some of those areas. I won't speak and I won't step on the toes of our street department. But one of the things that we can definitely do is it'll give us the opportunity to get in there and get it on our plan. We can't add it to the plan until it's annexed, but as soon as it would be annexed, we would start, I'm going to say degradation models, which is what process or where it would fall into that chart of whenever it would be categorized as priority. That's true. That's just a part of the overall process within the city. However, upon annexation, they would be put into that larger group. We would identify, there's immediate services that can be provided for temporary fixes and different things like that we can do. But one thing to note that I heard from a previous meeting was someone had stated that it had been 30 years since their road had been taken care of before. I understand that they used that as an example of why they're finally on the schedule, but you can't discount the fact that they had already been waiting for 30 years. I can't assume that we would take longer than 30 years to get it on the schedule, but I think that we could probably go out, do the process to make that determination of when to spend those funds.
And these are all high traffic areas that we're wanting to annex on both sides of the road.
It's like airport. We know that airport road has been a headache. I know directors, since I've been here, have come to me because it's one of those things that we own half the street and then we split the street with the county, and we know we have to get in there, and we're making some the same complaints I am, and we're trying to work together for a solution. We won't have instant fixes for everyone.
But that street didn't become a problem until all the housing development went out there, and the more traffic creates more potholes.
Yes, sir. So you really don't want to go in there and redo everything before the construction's done because they're just going to tear it up. So it's getting in there because we like go on outside our annexation area. We're taking those properties in anyway, but it's causing issues because we have to go through the county or we got this bottleneck to get to their area. It's hard on the police department because if you look on certain areas, which house because we've had it where, hey, this house is in the city, and we're just trying to clean a lot of that up. But no, it is great questions, great discussion. Hey, is any others? And we'll keep the discussion going. We got a little while. Megan, do you want to go ahead? And what we did with this website, and I will get you that information as what she's getting you, we will start getting that information to you. We're kind of getting a database for questions for the panel. You're giving me great questions. I have a list over here that we will try to answer the best we can.
I did have another question, Alan. The list of homeowners or addresses you had given us pre-annexation agreements, these are people who have signed saying, these are new homes that have come in, or are these current homes that have said, we'll sign to come in if you get near us?
I didn't go way back. I think that list that Ms. Renee gave me today was back from 2019 to current.
But my question is, these are ones who have said, if you touch if you come with city limits up to our property, we will, by signing this agreement.
Right,
Is that what
whenever
that
they get
means?
utilities, they sign that pre-annexation
Okay.
agreement. I haven't had anybody come forward. I'm just trying to remind people, they have the right to say, hey, I don't want to do this. They have that right just by signing that agreement. But a part of that agreement is to say, you're getting city utilities and you have the possibility to be annexed.
Okay.
So they
Can we
know
get a
that when
copy?
they sign that agreement.
Can we get a copy of that?
Yes, I think I gave you, if I didn't
Well,
give
we see a list, but did we got
I think they want to see a copy of the agreement itself.
the actual
Yes.
agreement?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
I will.
I recall the Castlewood subdivision that's on Davidson. I recall when we approved that was part of them getting the motion to move forward, is that they've got to come in if we touch their property, correct?
Yes, sir.
Well, I think whenever you all get a copy of it, I think it actually says, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it says that if we propose annexation, that they will not fight it.
I didn't
If
know
you
if it
will.
said that they automatically came in if our city limits bordered their property.
And it may actually say that, but I just kind of from quickly reading through it whenever we were first talking about it, I
I
think,
mean, you hate to, once it's all developed, you've now got 25 homeowners
right.
that instead of dealing with just the Castlewood developer, you've now got to get 25 homeowners.
Right.
So,
I don't know if this matters or not, but some of these addresses aren't part of this, I get.
Oh, no,
Okay.
ma'am, you're right. I didn't go
Okay.
through each one. I was just, again, I actually didn't know about it, and then it was brought to me, and I didn't realize we were signing this.
Okay. So at first I thought this represented a lot of the people that were already in what's being proposed, and so, maybe a little easier to get them on board since they've already signed, but I know several of these are not even in.
Right, and
what's being
there's
proposed.
more. I'm gonna have to go and do that. It's just, I didn't know if you guys, you remembered that we were doing this, and it was just kind of a reminder that we do have this in play.
well, it's just like Killarney. Killarney's out at Dawn Hill.
Yeah, and so is the Rimcrest Court that overlooks City Lake.
Just an odd mixture.
There's more.
I think I noticed on there were 3 or 4 signatures from Lawless Road.
So could we get a map with these pinpointed on them? That
That's
would
something
make it
we can work
easier
on.
to associate in our mind.
Yeah, and I don't know if it matters or not, but like I said, my first thought was, oh, well, these are all people that have already sort of agreed to it, but it doesn't
Right.
matter because some of them aren't.
But if there's
in the
more
proposed
than
area.
on this list, and then having a map, it'll show you if they're around the boundaries.
Well, when you see the title pre-annexation agreement, that's what it sounds like. And so maybe we do need to read a sample of what this agreement is, just to get an idea of what people have, what we've agreed to and what they've
Yes, Miss Barbara's making copies for you now.
Okay.
So you'll have that before you leave. And a lot of that is my understanding, this is what we should have been doing always. If you get utilities in the city, you should assign this. So a lot of it is on our map. If you see city utilities in the area, they should assign a pre-annexation agreement. It's kind of part of our standard.
There's some pretty funky lines with Carroll and Siloam, I guess.
And that, just to add to that, we do have those mapped, and I can provide Alan with a copy of that map from our GIS analysts. He does already have these locations mapped, so you would be able to see those.
Happy to get those to you. We want you to have all the information too, because we know you're getting phone calls and you're getting looks and different things like that. But at the end of the day, I think I've said this several times, we are trying to do what's best for our city, our citizens, and our growth. And one of the things people don't want to ever hear about is utility, and I'm going to make Phil rise up in his seat a little bit. He's going to give me an ugly look probably. But we're looking at GRDA is coming to us right now, and what we're hearing, it isn't 100%, but it's getting close, is we're looking at a 4% increase for 5 years. So again, we try to keep our utilities where they are, and people are, get used to the lower utilities, not high. But with annexation, if we don't grow, utility bills are going to rise. I mean, taxes. We have people getting these utilities and these amenities, and they're not paying city taxes.
Speaking of that, it would be helpful if we could find out, I know we don't know right now as to whether or not we're going to have to buy out anybody in the proposed annexation area from Carroll. And I know that after paying 355% of their annual electric bill, I think, did you say for 3 years? Is that right? That's the cost, okay, for 3 years. Then that money comes to us, but that could be a pretty hefty upfront cost from us, so that might be.
And Mindy, we ought to get that amount you're talking about for each plan. How many customers in Plan A
Right.
that it would cost us, how many in Plan B that it was, so we know a dollar figure in terms of the buyout associated with each concept.
And then, further on down that, the ROI, so it may cost us for 3 years, but then the return on that investment would be this much for the next 2 or 3 years.
We may look at the cost between A and B and say, it's much bigger jump dollar-wise to go to B than to just take baby steps and go to A. Who knows?
But the return on the investment may be a lot bigger too.
Yeah.
So
So I think we need to have all the info possible before we make.
I could
All right, we're
just,
putting a lot of work on y'all.
Oh, this is what this is discussions for, and I appreciate it. And one of the things, you're making a great point. David, you've been in the city a long time with a lot of you. Imagine if we did annexation years ago, what would the cost been compared to what it is now? What happens if we don't do annexation? What's the cost going to be in 4 or 5 years? And that's why we're trying to get this done, because I think the cost could even get more. Things have steadily rising. What are they going to be like in 2 years, 3 years, 4 years?
Well, I can tell you the last time we had an election was '08. And I remember it because it was the year I ran for mayor and Moose was retiring. And he was very adamant that it was going to pass. And it was only to take in Don Hill. That was what the board had decided, that we were going to take in Don Hill and go right along the border of Don Hill. And the planning commission decided to go out to Taylor Orchard Road. And it was that extension that helped defeat it, because those people wanted to be in the county. But the threat, or the fear tactic, whatever, was, well, if we don't do it, Gentry's going to do it. So I've been hearing that for a long, long time, probably 20, 25 years, that if we don't do this, Gentry's going to do it. But that situation, I know the board was for taking Don Hill in, because there was enough customers and there was enough people in Don Hill that wanted it. Judy, am I right? I mean, I think the people of Don Hill
the people of Don Hill.
that lived on the
wanted-
streets of Don Hill.
They actually wanted, yeah.
But when
have
you
wanted
can
for a
have,
while.
whatever you call it, government overreach or whatever, to claw further than what you really need, that's when you can make the public that are in the country just rise up, and it got defeated. And I mean, the last 2 or 3 months before the election, I told Moose, I said, I'm starting to hear some negative stuff. And in fact, there was yard signs that said vote no. And so it was a surprise to a lot of people that it went down. And of course, some people are like, well, what if we were stuck with Don Hill today? I think it would have been a help for us to own Don Hill, not own, but have it in our city limits today. I still believe that it would have been in the best interest of them and the city.
And you guys are making great points, and one of the things that we want to do as a staff and what we've started is from day one is educate. Make sure that our citizens and our partners in the county understand, and we're not going to hide from questions. We're going to roll up our sleeves. We're going to give some tough answers. There's some answers they're not going to like, but we have to educate, and we're going to hit everything we can on social media and personal meetings. I got a feeling I'm going to be doing a lot of meetings, and if you want to have one-on-ones with me, please come see me, because I want you to understand, because what I said at the last meeting, we have to be united on this. We can't have 80 people walk in here mad, and then we just say, whoop, we're not going to do this, because please you do what's best for them and best for our growth. And if this isn't what's best, okay, let's not do it, and we will focus on other things, because we have a lot going on. I personally think it's what's best for us, and if we come back in 10 years and do annex, what's the cost going to be then? And you've heard me say this analogy. We've got a jar, and that thing is full, and we're spilling over. And we have a lot of growth coming in, and we got to make sure we're doing the right kind of growth. One of the things that some of the county folks, great questions, what they're saying, well, I don't want someone to take my property, and we have a lot of these small houses going on there, these single-family homes that turn into rental properties and depreciate. And again, I think we have a lot of those in our city, and I want to change our direction and go into half-acre homes, and we have to look at in zoning and see what we can do to do that as we bring in our senior housing and the different things that we do, and not just senior housing, but what me and Mr. Reed have talked to many, many times is transitioning senior housing, because not everybody's ready just to go into a medical facility. They want to transition maybe from the yard, but we got to have property to do that, and we got to have growth. If we're looking at gasification, and what we're looking at gasification, if we decide to go with diesel and jet fuel, that can't be done in the city. We're going to have to put that a little farther out in the city, depending how we are. And Director Wiles and Jason and others have been working extremely hard to get us answers for that, and that's something still we're looking into, and we're hoping to bring something to you soon. So again, that's kind of my spiel. Board, or not board, but staff, am I missing anything? Anything you guys want to add?
I did just want to add, so option C, back last year when we were looking at it, the estimate for the cost of that annexation was just over $5 million. And that was taking in 329 addresses. And if memory serves, it was close to 160 that would have been Carroll Electric customers that we had to buy out. And so options A and B are both going to be well below that. But we should be able to put numbers to that for each.
Yeah, option B, we're
How much?
144. I think we're actually 60%.
5 million.
I think we're 60% under what we were going after last year.
What was option A? Residents there?
How many residents was that, guys? I can't remember. Was it 130?
A was 63, B is 144, and then C is 329. So, and I believe it was about half of that would have been Carroll Electric buyout.
On either one of those. So 30 to 70, depending on option A or B. 30 to 70 buyouts.
Likely, but we'd have to get those numbers. I don't know that it's quite 1-to-1, because as we go further out, there's a higher mix of Carroll Electric customers. So these may be less than that kind of halfway point, but we can certainly put numbers to that.
I remember that $5 million that whenever it was proposed last year, was helpful info.
So that would be 5 million over 3 years.
Correct, and that was for option C. That's the largest price tag we would have been.
And then, you know, for the next, how long would it take us to get that back? Basically. And that's not something I expect for you to have in your head right now. That's just a question for later.
And that's something that I can get Phil to look in there and look at the option and let us know how many Carroll Electric customers are there and how many. But again, once we do this buyout, I think a lot of that's going to be in our territory, and we would be buying it out anyway. Am I saying that right, Phil? So even without annexation, with this agreement that we're in right now, we're going to be taking that anyway with those territories, and we may even be taking more territory than that, depending how the agreement and deliberation ends. But we've made really good strides.
With,
Carroll.
right, with the discussions regarding what belongs to whom. Yeah, okay.
Well, you were talking about GRDA. I'm just thankful we've got a 25-year vet from GRDA that can just say, yeah, we're not going to do that. I'm teasing Phil on the 4% you were talking about.
And, you know, we tease, and this won't probably be popular, what I'll probably say, but if things get too expensive, we may have to reach out and look at other companies. I know in several areas, they've reached out to a company in Missouri that came in and beat their costs.
Well, I still have people to this day, for decades, we've had people say, why isn't Siloam on SWEPCO? Well, because GRDA beat their price a long, long time ago. But that doesn't mean they'd beat their price today.
Right, yeah.
Probably, but I mean, they're right there. in
Yeah,
Genco,
as we
so.
go forward, we'll get you those numbers and do all that.
GRDA has been a good company, though, for the city. They have been a really good supplier.
But again, hey, thank you for the great conversation. This is what it's about. Talking, we will continue these conversations, and I will get you this timeline. I think we've made great strides. I think our plan is solid. We're going to educate the best we can and have meetings and talk to people. And, you know, and the big people we got to talk to is our citizens to make sure they understand what we're doing to keep their rates lower and different things that it helps them. Because I hear all the time, well, the people out there, they don't have to pay city taxes. And I'm looking into, I had a great question today, you know, does the county folks pay a 10% fee? Phil, I don't know if you could answer that. The people actually in the county, they pay 10%, do you know? They do not? Okay. That was a rumor I heard, and I said, let me check, because I'm not sure.
Well, on some utilities, they pay a surcharge. Don't they? I mean, on some utilities, if they're outside the city, don't they pay a surcharge?
See, I heard
They used to.
10%.
On some utility.
They used to, but it's been a long time since I was part of billing. But
But
we used to.
I think 10% sounds right in terms
Yeah.
of outside the city on sanitation or water or something. I've heard it over the years, so.
Ms. Kim, do you know? I know Miss Christina's out. Yeah, Christina would know. She's on vacation. Hopefully she'll be back soon. I'll get, that's a great question. I'll make sure. Sanitation does. So in sanitation, if it's outside, they do play a surcharge.
I think Megan had something she was going to share with us.
Well, I had Mr. Reed. Go ahead, Megan. We've had you
Here,
waiting. You didn't stand up there the whole time?
I sat down. Megan Whitworth, Communications Manager. So last Thursday, we posted the maps on our social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and then we posted it on our website. We also created a Microsoft form that people could submit their questions to. Instead of having all the questions go to Alan's email, it'd be a little bit easier just to keep track of and be able to answer those questions. So on Facebook, we had a reach of 10,000 people. Our post went out to you. And we had 16 comments on our form. And then out of those, we had 5 pro comments, 21 no or negative comments, and then 9 questions posted. And then there was a lot of like little conversations throughout. So I'm excited to push map C out of the way and be able to focus on map A and B, because I think that does confuse people, and this will give people just a better idea. So I've already posted 3 times today on social media. It's a little too much. So tomorrow morning I will post the maps and just give a update and just ask people to keep sending their questions in. I sent over the questions that we had last year, and there were about 7 pages of questions that we had from previous annexation talk last year. So we'll be going through those and the questions that were submitted this week. We'll go and answer those and post those to our website. And then we've also talked about having a interactive town hall meeting on April 11th. And I think that is crucial to send the people, the 144 people, if that's what we choose to go with, to send them letters and let them know this is happening. And I think over communication, I strongly believe in that, and just being transparent about what is happening, what is this process. So I'm super excited. Just as communications, I love the field, just be able to communicate and help educate not only those people, but our community and how it benefits and the pros and cons of it all. Any
Megan,
questions?
what is interactive town hall meeting? What's that mean?
Yeah, so we'll have, so it will be here in the boardroom, and we'll have the maps posted, and people, instead of having we were worried about 300 people just coming in, and we were worried about fire codes, so we'll be able to, people can come and go. Our staff will be sitting here, standing.
Okay.
People will just be able to come and talk.
I didn't know what interactive meant.
Yeah, so I think that'll be super fun.
Person to person
Mhm,
interactive. Okay.
absolutely.
Explain
You may
it to
wanna-
me too, Director.
You may want to consider the library because you may need more
It's
room.
booked.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. So that was our first hope, but they're pretty booked.
You don't have
that
any
week.
pull there?
I tried.
She explained to me it's like career day. We'll be
Yes.
here in
Oh,
different
okay.
booths, and they'll be able to come talk to us about it. And we'll also have another town hall. We are just trying to give them every avenue possible to ask us questions, if it's social media, in person, however we can do that. Real quick, I want to change gears a little bit. I had a director ask a great question. One of the things we have some older residents, and we have some people that don't really care about social media and don't get on there, so they don't get a lot of information. So Megan did some work. We were trying to think if we could send a single-page newsletter with our bill. And you want to give them the cost, would it be for a 1-page and a 2-page? And it's something I can budget for next year. I can try to make it work this year, but
Yeah. So if we do a 1-page insert utility billing, it will for a black and white, it's $900 per month, 2 pages, $1,800, so about $10,000 for just the 1 page for a full year. So that's just something, and I just think that's a great way just to communicate with people. And we have our Connect, which is 50 pages, so that may be a little too expensive. But we can always lead people back to our website, lead them to the Connect, lead them back to those places where they can give more information. But this 1 page is a great way just to educate people on events and just different ongoings with the city.
But for a year, 1 page, we can $8,000 to $10,000, 2-page, $18,000 to $20,000. And what Megan says, it gives us a good way to say, hey, do you know about Connect? Follow this link, this website, and give them step-by-step instructions, and maybe they can find it and start reading. But some don't look at social media. Some, I still have relatives that have flip phones. They don't want to deal with all that stuff.
But I tell you, the most easy thing to help anybody really get to a webpage is a QR code. And if you give it as simple instructions as possible, just open your camera and point it, those things make everything so easy. So that may be
work for a flip
a way
phone.
to get to your, do they not work with a flip
That
phone?
won't work for a flip phone,
Okay,
I
I didn't
think.
know, yeah. But it could even link to your Connect,
Absolutely.
to your 50-page Connect.
I don't know, I guess it does. I
Yeah.
wouldn't think it would on a flip phone, would it?
And we could post those. It's a good idea. We can do some things like that. Good ideas.
And we've also
other-
talked about doing an email newsletter too.
The other thing we used to do was a state of the city at the beginning of the year that David Cameron would be a big part of. And I think our mayor should be writing a letter at the beginning of the year. Oh, I'm not volunteering you, am I?
We've talked
A
about doing
state of the city, if
too,
you will?
so.
Say what?
A state of the city.
Yeah, that's what David called it, the state of the city, yeah.
I'm just one of 7, but I like the idea of an insert. You could possibly even do every other month.
Yeah. I don't think you have to do it every month.
Yeah.
I can't remember the
Or
last
quarterly.
time I've opened a utility bill.
Well,
'Cause
that's
it's
the problem
automatic
for
payment.
automatic withdrawal.
Can we
Yeah.
make it where, I mean, honestly, do you really think automatic withdrawal people open their, I've never opened mine.
I don't get one.
No, and that's where you could do like an email blast, email newsletter that would go out.
Maybe eliminate those from getting that.
I don't know. I
There
mean,
should be a
there's,
variable that
there's-
We can look
says,
into
don't
it.
print for these.
people know what their utility bills are. I guess they can see the amount on
haven't
their
opened
bank
mine in
statement,
years.
but.
I just go into my account and pay it.
But yeah, even quarterlies for newsletters are.
Yeah. And that's where we could have more of like a 3 or 4 page newsletter instead of monthly. So we'll keep brainstorming ideas.
But I think the people that she's talking about reaching probably are the people that are going to open them.
Well, a lot of seniors, like my grandma, we put her on automatic. Well, my mom or my grandma, which one? But a lot of other family members, I don't know. It's a hard solution.
Well, it's like
a
Code
hard
Red, when
problem
we
to
were doing
solve.
that, we had to find ways to get people to, you know, the fire department to get them in the Code Red.
That's why it's important. You could do social media, do newsletter, try to reach many different type of
Lots of
people.
different
Yeah.
modes of communication.
So
Hey, great discussion today. We're running late. Megan, thank you. Great job. But again, if you have questions, you know, feel free to email me and Barbara, and we'll try to get you the answers on this. And I've kind of got a direction that we're going, and I appreciate that.
Just have one question?
Yes,
I know
ma'am.
I can't vote, but I still have a question. Did I understand that part of this, or A and B, would include Highway 59 down to, what, Davidson Road, maybe?
Option A actually doesn't include Davidson Road and doesn't pick up 59.
It does not.
No, that's why I like B, because it's clean across there and it picks up 59 and then anything that we could possibly go across the road.
So, yeah, I would just,
Ben
I'd
and
just make a
Kevin, if-
comment.
Ben and Kevin, am I right on this? If we annex Davidson and we got 59, would that allow the people, even if it's a 4-lane dividing us, to petition to come in if it's divided by that 4-lane?
That's correct. So we would be annexing in the full right-of-way, even if we're only annexing the property on one side of the road. So that's the plan to avoid future issues. So for 59, it would still be a state highway, but it would be in city limits.
So the reason I ask that is because we know that they are going to 4-lane, or whatever they're going to do. They're going to expand Highway 59 all the way to, what, Gravette, or, yeah, to Missouri eventually. And, you know, I would think for us as a city to have that in our city limits before all of that starts developing, because they're,
Yeah, Mayor's got a great point. The meetings we have been in, 59 is going to be a kind of a group, it's going to be done long before 412. It's on RDOT's list. We have been in those meetings. It's the group that we're a part of. We're together because if you come from Gentry, coming from McKee or Simmons Food, and you get on that 2-lane, you are stuck. So they are really looking at try to get that done sooner than later. So I'd rather be ahead of the curve. Me and Mr. Reed had a conversation today. We got 412 coming. Is that 15 years, 20 years, 25 years? We've got to start planning for it. Because if the development comes in that we're looking at, and there's a lot of traffic going to be put out on 412, and even with the elementary school, that's even going to put more in as we grow. The last thing I just want to touch on real quick, I have a lot of people that call me, and they may call you, or we're not so much call, but social media. We have a lot of people talking down about annexation that are not even a part of this annexation process. So again, I listen, but again, if you're on the other side of Airport Road and you're not even a part of this plan, but you're telling me you don't want it, well, you're really not a part of the plan. So I don't know if you're getting those calls. We need to make sure that they're even a part of this process. So that's all I have. If any last questions? Yes, ma'am.
I know you and I talked about it a little bit, but I would like clarification, not right now. Like if people are going to be grandfathered in with their cattle ranches, what exactly does that look like? If they're going to build barns, what does that look like? If they do happen to have a chicken house and a tornado comes and takes it, if they're in city limits, can they rebuild? I mean, those kind of, for the people who, this is part of their livelihood, I
Great
would like
questions.
specifics. And I know before it was said, well, you know, we won't go out and count how many cattle they have. Well, you're not going to be here forever. They're not. We're not. You know, the next people could come along and change. So I would like specifics on,
When we start
how
really
it's gonna
digging into
work.
this, when we get to that spot, we're going to start, answering those questions of what does grandfathering mean? I mean, if you got a cattle ranch and do you continue as a horse ranch? And we will start answering those questions and giving factual answers to them. This is what we can do, this is what we can't do. You know, one of the things I want to look, and I know we're getting very short on time, is just rifles being used outside the city. You know, it's right there in the city limits, but you're right next to the city limits or you're between the city limits. And we may have to look at ordinances that are more shotguns, but as we go forward, we will start answering these questions. We will not avoid them. And we're adding all those questions to our list. I think it's getting pretty long, but we will do that. Yes, Mr. Reed?
We introduce new sound guy.
You want to introduce? I'm sorry. Yep, we got a new guy. Come introduce yourself. We're going to put you right on the spot.
Hello, I'm Michael Belding. I'm from St. Joseph, Missouri, actually. My family and I are looking to relocate here. I started in the IT department on Monday. We listed our house last week. We put an offer down, or got an offer today, so hopefully they'll be transitioning down here soon. For now, it's just me, but looking forward to joining the city and being a part of the community.
Welcome to Siloam
Congratulations, and
Springs.
yeah, welcome,
Welcome to the team. They won't put you on the spot, I
Hey,
promise.
that's all right.
So all these mistakes were yours today?
Yeah.
Okay. We got somebody to blame, don't we, Mr.
Pressure,
Wong?
pressure.
That's right. We'll get better.
Hey, no, seriously, welcome to the team.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Are you done?
I'm done.
All right, sir.
Talked out.
All right. Thank you all. Staff?
Do we need a motion to adjourn, or
No.
No, okay.
No, we are just adjourned. Thank you.